Hey, Facebook. We are back. Hey, Periscope. We are just jumping back on. We were having a little technical difficulties, but hopefully you guys jump back on with us. Invite people to come jump back on with us as we get started. Hopefully it comes. Hey, Candace. So hopefully you guys can hear us and are able to jump back on pretty easy. If you guys can hear us, let us know. I can't see anybody coming. Can you guys hear us? See us?
It's on.
It's on. I'm just.
So if you can hear us.
Oh, loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
Okay. All right, so it's a go. I'm just sharing it back, guys. If you invite people to come back, we'll wait for some people to jump back on with us. So we were talking about in marriage that marriage costs you time, right? And so many times we coach couples that have a hard time giving each other the time that they need. Now, see, time isn't a problem when you spend the time doing what you want to do. Like if it's something that we're interested in, something that we want to do, typically there isn't a problem scheduling time to do it.
Right.
Where the issue comes in marriage, the cost of marriage with time comes in it. Like Ronald said, when you just want to be in chill mode, when you want to do you, when you don't necessarily want to go on a date with your spouse, when you don't really want to do what they want to do, when you feel like the activities that they may want to engage in are kind of lame and boring and you really don't want to do that. Like I think about the times that hubby kind of drags me to watch football because I'm not a football chick. I'm not gonna pretend. Like I know some of y'all chicks go hard for the sports. I'm not that girl. But I will sit down and watch it for my husband's sake. Like if he wants me to watch a game that he really wants to watch, I'll sit down. I'll watch the game with him and I'll give him that time. Mm-hmm. And so many marriages struggle because we're not willing to give the time that it costs in order to build a marriage. There's no way to build anything in life if you're not willing to give the time, and not the time that you feel like somebody deserves or the time that you feel like it takes that they should be satisfied with, but the time that your spouse desires. Like if your spouse is saying, look, babe, we haven't spent any time together. Can we go away for the weekend? Can we really just go on a date? I haven't seen you. Can you take a day off? I really need to spend some time with you. It is important and imperative that you plan that time for your spouse because marriage costs time. And if you don't have time to commit to your spouse, do not get married. Marriage requires you to give someone the time that they need, the time that they need to get to know you, to connect with you, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's time. Money is time.
Yeah.
So whenever time is being lost, there's money being lost. And so we have to get to a point where we can separate the two. We can find the balance. Yeah. Because I know a lot of men struggle with when it's time to devote time to their wives and their family. We look at the financial piece. And especially those who really go hard and, want to have nice things in life. Yeah. But we have to find balance. Yeah. So that's second point, number 2. Yeah. That the cost of marriage is time. And time, we can use time. We can suck time up into most of these points. Yeah. Because most of these points are going to pull time away from you. Whether it's time spending going on a date, whether it's time just being out. Yes. And I want to go back to what you were just saying about when most men just want some me time. Why does it seem like every time a man just want to watch a good football game, women always have something to say or have something that they want you to do, or that's the time when they really want to spend some quality time? Why is that? Yeah, I don't know, but what's more important, this football game or time? I have to go with the time. But it's important because, like you said, the whole thing with time doesn't become an issue until
it's not convenient.
Inconvenient, yeah.
Like when it inconveniences you now to give your spouse the time that they're asking you, that's when the true cost of time comes into marriage. And you always got to be willing that no matter what, you're willing to give your spouse the time they need for you guys to continue to grow and move forward together in unity and be able to have that marriage and that friendship and that connection that you need to sustain to be able to have a successful, happy marriage. If you're not willing to give time, you're not willing to grow. You're not willing to do this for the long haul.
And so for each point, I just want to relay each point. I'm going to relay it to God. Mm-hmm. So what if when we needed something or we was in a desperate place, God was like, he got aggravated when we wanted time. Or he got aggravated and frustrated every time we wanted to come to him to prayer and say, God, please hear my prayer.
Come on
I
now.
need you. And he like, okay, I got you. Let me finish praying over
I'm
here.
a little busy.
Yeah, I got a trillion people I got to attend to, but I got you. You just hold tight right there, and I'll be with you in just a second.
I may get to you, I may not.
So this
the way my schedule's set up, and you like, God, wait a minute, I need you.
Yes.
But that's the same thing that we do to our spouses. Our spouses are pleading like, look, I need some time with you. I need to connect with you. I need to spend some time with you. And we won't give them what they need. And then when you start to get into a situation where you're having more arguments about time, that is a clear example that you're not giving enough time. Like nobody complains about time if time is not an issue.
That's true.
Nobody complains about time if time is not an issue. And so if your spouse is saying, look, we need to spend more time together, more often than not, you need to spend more time together. And work should not be a factor to not spend time with somebody. Understand that a job that you do should not come before a marriage that you're trying to sustain. Yes, we need money to do what we need to do, but at any time, a company can let you go. And so if your commitment is more to a company than it is to your covenant, then you're already losing. You're already losing. Nothing can be nothing but God, and the desire for God and the love for God comes before your spouse. And so if your spouse is asking for some time, look, get them some time.
Yeah.
You gotta, marriage will cost you your time.
Because if you don't give them the time, somebody else will. But we're not going to stick there. We're going to go to the next point. The next point is marriage will cost you, this is going to cause a lot of conflict, but this is very important. Marriage will cost you commitment. Commitment. You want to go ahead?
Oh, I've been committed to you for a long time. Marriage will cost you commitment. I mean, and look, guys, when we think about this generation we live in, like commitment is like so watered down now. Like nobody really is committed to what they say they're committed to, and a lot of times we really aren't committed to what we say we're committed to. And so the commitment of marriage is not this commitment like hey girl, you know how you tell your girl like, hey, I got this going on, I want you to come out, can you come out and support me? And you're like, yeah girl, now it's the event probably like 3 weeks out, and you're like, yeah girl, I'm free on Saturday, I'm coming, I got your back, I'm so proud of you, I'm gonna come and support you, I'm committed to it. Okay, 3 weeks go by, the event comes, and you're just like, oh yeah, today it's kind of cold outside, it's raining, I don't really think I'm gonna make it. So you're not committed. This is what we do in marriage. But marriage costs real commitment. Marriage costs the kind of commitment that when you go through something, you don't think that you have the strength to go through it.
Yeah.
That kind of commitment. That even though you know you don't have the strength to go through it, you are committed to stay the course. And so you're like, okay, God, you know what? I don't know what's going on with this food today, but I need you to really strengthen me so that I can make it through this season with my spouse. True commitment is that no matter what we go through in marriage, we are going to work it out and we are going to be solid after this trial. Many people have conditions on their marriage. Their marriage isn't a commitment, it's a convenience. And anytime you go into a marriage with convenience instead of commitment, you're going to break the tie when it's no longer convenient.
That's true.
Our marriages now are built on convenience. It's not built on commitment. But marriage has to have commitment. It has to have a cost of daily commitment. Mm-hmm. Like daily commitment.
And I'm working on a study now that talks about not so much the cost, but constituents. Those are people who are in it for what works for them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. See, people are going to be committed as long as it's something. I mean, most people are going to be committed as long as it's something that's going to benefit them.
Absolutely.
And so if it don't benefit them, no, they don't, because they don't have no real true commitment to you. It's two types of people. One person is going to have a commitment to you.
Yep.
And the other one is going to have a commitment to what you have that will benefit them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so those are the two people that you have to be careful of.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to go sidetrack, but it kind of ran across my mind when you were just talking about commitment.
Yeah.
So some people are committed to you, and some people are committed to what you can do for them.
Yeah. So let me just challenge you a little bit. So if you're married or you're dating somebody that you feel like you're going to be married to, if you can't, if when you go through things, the thoughts that run through your mind are, you know what, I ain't signed up for this. Like, I can get out of this. I can leave. Your marriage is very convenient. It is built on convenience. If you find yourself separating when there are challenges, when things get hard, when it's no longer a happy home to come to, when you're no longer talking and having fun and hanging out as friends, when there's no longer the passion there that used to be there, and you're ready to walk away, your marriage is built on convenience.
It's convenient.
Yeah, you've given it the cost of convenience. So as long as it's convenient for me, I am dedicated to it. But the moment that it challenges,
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm done because I'm not committed. I'm not committed. I'm not grounded. I'm not rooted. I'm not here to say, you know what, regardless of what goes on and regardless of what I feel and regardless of what I'm receiving in this moment, I made a commitment before God to be with you through good, bad, sickness, health, better or worse. And although we may be residing in a worse moment, I have committed to the worst. But we don't commit anymore when we say our dues. We commit to convenience. And so we say, you know what? I say I do for better. And it just depends on how bad it get. Like, God, I'm down for like little bad. But if it get bad, like if it gets worse, I can't guarantee I'm going to hang around because I'm not really cut out for worse.
Well, I think the reason being is ritual. And the reason why I say that is it don't sound good to say, hey man, I'm here, I love you until something happens.
And that just don't flow right in the mouth. It don't sound good.
Oh yeah, look, I'm with you, I'm down with you. Look, I am committed to you until we start running into some issues that have to deal with financial or, a case is some infidelity stuff come up, I'm out. If you don't give me what I need to supply my needs, I'm kind of out.
Yeah.
So we don't do that.
Yeah.
But we should do that.
Yeah.
Because the medication that we take, it does that. It says that, hey, this will make you feel better, but these are the side effects. So if you take me, yes, take Ronald. He come with anger issues.
Yeah. Oh, come on now.
He come with infidelity issues. I mean, but we don't do that. So I think what should have happened, it should be like something that run across our neck. They say, this is a good person, but these are the side effects that this person has.
Yes.
Yes. She has been hurt.
Yes.
She has been in a relationship and 10 guys have hurt her and she don't know how to trust. She have trust issues. So then we could look at him and be like, no.
I don't know if I can commit to that.
Why her side effects keep going? Trust issues, infidelity.
Oh, come on now.
Running wild.
Yes.
She was oh God, she been molested.
Yes.
I'm good, sis. You fine, you nice, you look beautiful.
But I don't think I got what it takes.
No, because what happens is like some medications, I just want to heal this soreness in my arm, and then you telling me that it can cause vomit, bleeding, my left arm getting stuck in the air, and all these other side effects that come with it, to the point that you be like, man, you know what? No, I'll just deal with this.
Yep.
And so that's the cost.
Yeah. Because commitment is not convenient, guys.
It's not.
Commitment is absolutely not convenient. And that still goes back to what Jesus was telling the people that was following him at that time. Look, to be my disciple, it takes commitment, because where I'm about to go, you're going to be rejected. You're going to be persecuted. You got to be ready for this stuff. And it's the same in marriage. There are times in marriage where you can easily become enemies. And so in the moment that we are now at war, am I willing to stay and fight? Or am I willing to say, you know what? Let me give you this white flag. I'm done. I'm not committed. I give up. Marriage takes commitment. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
And the very thing about the great thing that I like about commitment is anything in life that you want to build and be successful with, that's the number one. That's the key factor in everything to building to success is commitment. When you want to lose weight, you have to be committed to that workout. When you want to build muscles, you have to be committed to that workout. When you want to grow your business, guess what? Even when it ain't doing well, you have to be committed to running your business to the point that it comes successful. But what we do is as soon as we hit a rough patch, it's over. Soon as we work out for 20 days and 21 days.
And you don't see results.
You don't see results. And that Krispy Kreme red light is on. No, man, you be like, this is a cheat day. Then one cheat day turns to two. Then three. Then you're not working out. And it's no commitment. It's like saving money. If you don't be committed to something, you're going to fail at a lot of things.
One thing that will surely make you not stick to your commitment is looking at somebody else's life. And comparing yours to theirs. And I say that to say this, because you just made a good point. Many of us, we work out, and I've been there, worked out, and I feel like I'm going hard. It's been about 3 weeks, and I don't really feel like I'm where I need to be. And so I'm not really excited or motivated to keep working, because I feel like I'm doing all of this. I'm giving all of myself, and I'm not feeling like I'm seeing the results right now. But a lot of times when you begin to work out, the work begins to happen from the inside out and not from the outside in. And so you don't see the results immediate, but results are already there. Things are already strengthening. Things are already changing. Impact is already happening to your body. Transformation is already forming. Now, we do the very same thing in marriage. We say, God, this situation is hard. Change my spouse, change the situation, change me, help us through this. And God begins to work. Now, he begins to work individually. He begins to maybe work within you. He begins to maybe work within your spouse. But because you don't get to see the fruits right away, you assume that the plan is dead. You assume that nothing is happening. And then you go look at somebody else's life and you're like, wait a minute, they're thriving, they're doing well. She just started working out 2 weeks ago and she looks fine. But perhaps she only had 10 pounds to lose and you're trying to lose 50. So to compare yourself to somebody whose goal was only 10 pounds and yours was 50, that already sets you up to fail, sets you up to be discouraged.
And another thing is you don't see the commitment that they are putting in. You don't see that this person wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do a morning workout. And when she get off from work, she also do evening run. Only thing you see is the evening run, but you don't see the morning workout.
And perhaps you don't even see the diet change.
The diet change.
See, a lot of times we look at the outward things to assume we know what it takes to make it happen. We look at a lot of marriages from the outside and we assume, you know what, I want that. And we assume because they make it look so easy, because they do it so gracefully, that it's an easy thing to do, that it's an easy thing to obtain. But we don't see the behind the scenes thing. Like people see even MBG and they see us getting on here and teaching. Let me tell you, it is a commitment. Like it is hard. It is challenging. Like we've always said before, to get into an argument before Married by God, and you got to get out here and teach. And so now, is my commitment more important than the convenience? Because it's not convenient to get on here and teach with somebody that you really don't like at the moment because y'all just got into it. So it's not convenient to do that. But if I'm committed, I can suck it up and I can do it because it's beyond me. It's beyond this moment. It's beyond this emotion. And when you handle your marriage understanding that it's beyond the temporary situation, that it's beyond your temporary feeling, that it's a commitment. Like, look, I signed up for this to die. I said unto death. And so if death hasn't happened right now, I'm committed. I'm not committed based upon just your actions. I'm committed to God. And if I have a relationship with God and God is within our marriage and God is working in our marriage, I'm trusting God that even when I don't have the visual sight, the spiritual sight lines up with change. It lines up with me seeing it happening. It lines up with commitment. And anything that you are committed to, you have the potential to be successful at. Many of us fail in marriage because we don't start marriages with commitment. We start with convenience. We start with, as long as you can provide for me, look, dude, I'm down. As long as you can pay these bills, I'm down. As long as you can make sure we have what we need, I'm down. As long as you can provide food, I'm down. As long as I can stay at home and not have to work, I'm your girl. Right?
But when you have to get up.
Yeah, but lo and behold, something happens. And now, are you committed enough that if we have to stay in a shelter for 5 months,
are you committed?
Are you committed? Are you committed enough that if all of our cars get repossessed and we have to get on this bus for a year until we're able to get something else, are you committed?
The bus and the train?
Yeah. Are you committed enough that when you can't get what you want to eat, and so now we got to be eating stuff that we really don't want to eat because right now financially this is just where we are? Are you committed enough?
Porky bean and weenie.
And see, commitment is not just doing it. Commitment is doing it in a way that you would do it if things were great. See, a lot of us think that just because I'm staying, but I got an attitude, like, dude, we in a shelter, so I'm not going to talk to you. Like, I'm not going to really be giving you no sex because, dude, we in this shelter and you done set us back. And now I got to be loving you the same way. I got to be encouraging you. I got to be building you up. That's what you expect me to do. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay with you, but I'm not going to give you what I would have gave you if we were still living in our house. That is not commitment.
You can't get none in the shelter, though. For real.
That is not commitment. You gotta be willing to still love them at the same degree that you would love them if everything was okay. That is commitment. That is working through it. That is building through it. That is pushing. And that's what you need to sustain marriage. Yeah, it is. If you're not committed, you're not gonna make it, guys. If you're not committed, you're not going to make it. Not this play commitment, not this jumping back and forth. And you got to pay attention to people's commitment level because they show it to you before they get married. You got to pay attention to people who just bounce from job to job. Because any person that just bounces around and every time they get somewhere, it's like, you know what? This ain't working out. It's not a good fit for me. I don't like how they do this. I don't like how they do that. I don't like how this happens. So what happens when they get into relationships?
Same thing.
Because all relationships will bring things that you don't like. Like we all bring stuff to the table that the other person not going to like. We do it. It's just how we create it. We all have flaws. And so you got to be able to oversee that and say, you know what? I'm committed to you. I'm committed to the great things of you. That the flaws can't shake the roots that I have. Like you got to be that committed. You got to be committed to the point that even when they are not committed, you are committed enough to ride the storm.
That's a big one.
And you can't ride the storm on your own strength. So it always goes back to number one. You got to have a relationship with God. I tell people all the time, and so many people hit us behind the scenes saying that they're standing for their marriage. And when I ask them, who are you standing with? They're standing alone. And they say, it's just me. I'm just standing. And in that comment, they don't realize that the reason they're frustrated, the reason nothing's happening, the reason nothing's changing, because they're standing alone. Like if you don't stand with God, no change happens. There's no way to be committed without God. God is that rope, is that bond, is that chain that keeps us connected, that keeps us going, that keeps us committed. And so if you don't have God, standing is going to be standing in vain. I'm going to just tell you now. If you don't have God in your life, in your marriage, standing for a marriage is going to be in vain because there will be no transformation. God is transformation. God is the one that evokes transformation in us. He creates that transformation. He creates that desire to transform. He creates that desire to change.
Yeah.
That's it. Nobody changes on their own accord. When you have God and you have a relationship with God, God will pull change out of you. He will transform your mind, transform your life. And you got to be able to stand only with God. Don't stand for your marriage standing on your strength, because your strength will waver. It says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You can't do all things through you. You can't do all things through your strength. So forget about being committed and standing for a marriage when you don't have God. It's no way to do that. You gotta have God. God is the glue of commitment in a marriage, and you gotta be committed. Stop getting married with conditions. Stop getting married for convenience. When you get married for convenience, you will get divorced when it is no longer convenient for you. And marriage always has inconvenient moments. Nobody has been married for years and cannot look back over their life. We've been married almost 12 years now and been together, by 18. It's been so many inconvenient moments, like for me and him. Moments where we're like, you know what, dude, I love you, but
I'm out.
This is hard. This is stretching me.
Out.
This is difficult. And if you don't have the wherewithal and the roots of commitment, you're not going to make it. Marriage is not always a carnival. It's not always this beautiful thing. It's challenging. It's frustrating sometimes. It's overwhelming sometimes. It's discouraging sometimes. That's the real of marriage. But when you do it right and you do it God's way, it can be so transformational for your life. It can it can bring you to another level of wholeness. It won't make you whole. It can bring you to another level of wholeness, because you should have wholeness before you get married. Don't get into a marriage looking for wholeness. You need to be whole.
You need to be a what?
Whole. Oh, okay. Baby, come on now.
No, I ain't hear what you said. I thought you said you need to be a
You need to be whole. Yeah. Yes.
I was going to say, because it gets to a point in marriage where you just want to just give up.
Yeah.
And just walk out.
Yeah.
I know it's several times where I just get up and I just be like, I'm out. It's over.
Wait a minute.
But I go downstairs. Times? Yeah, several times. I just go downstairs and give me something to eat and come back. I ain't saying I'm leaving.
Whatever, honey.
I'm just saying I'm out the room for that moment.
Okay, with you.
Okay, let's go to the next point.
Next point.
That talks about marriage will cost you your selfishness. Because we all be about that self.
What?
We all about that self. Like, ain't nothing better than being like, it's about me, baby.
It's about me.
It's about me.
Hashtag self.
That's why we take selfies. Because this world has become so selfish. That's why I have an iPhone that I can take selfies on. Not ussies, but selfies. And so everything, it feels good to do something for yourself.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Ain't nothing like doing something for yourself.
It does.
It's fulfillment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the more you do it, the more selfish you get.
And it's nothing like self-gratification, if we're honest. It's nothing like doing something for you that makes you feel good, that is only about you. It's nothing like having something that you don't have to share with anybody else, just something that belongs to you. It is a great thing. And so many times as believers, we like to think that once we give our life to God and we believe in God, it's like, okay, you know what? I'm no longer selfish because I serve. You can serve and be selfish, guys.
Yeah.
You can serve and be selfish. And so never think that your selfishness automatically goes away when you get married. All of us come with a level of selfishness. Now, some of us come into marriage like so much more selfish than others. Like, especially if you come from not single, but if you come from only child homes where it's all about you. Like, I've had some only child friends, and you could tell, like, they were only children because everything was really about them, and it was real hard for them not to kind of get their way. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, no, this does not work like this. Can't always be about you. And a lot of times we get into our marriage and it's about us. It's like, I have needs. And if my needs not getting met, I don't really care about your needs. And so the way this is going to work, as long as I'm fulfilled, then I can reciprocate to you what you need. But if I am not fulfilled, if my needs are not met, if I don't get what I want, then I don't know if I can really do this marriage thing, because I got to do me first.
Yeah, because, you talking about I got to share my word with somebody? I mean, the songs be talking about I'm independent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the world feeds you. You're an independent woman. You don't need a man. You make your own money. You buy your own car. You got your own house.
Yep.
You got your own this. But there's certain things that you cannot do.
Yeah. Yeah.
By yourself.
Yeah. And you got to watch that independent spirit. It's nothing wrong with being able to kind of be self-sufficient. I'm all for self-sufficiency, especially prior to marriage. You should be able to manage your own life. Nobody should have to come and be your savior because you can't get a hold on your finances or you can't get a hold on your life, because God will set us all up to have a good life even before marrying somebody. And so when you marry somebody, it should only add value to your life. It should not really just take you down from the pits of hell and bring you up to a beautiful place. God does that. Yeah. And so a lot of times when you hear people say, I'm independent, you got to kind of pay attention to the language and to the words, because if you are a believer of Christ, if you are a believer of God, you never truly have independence ever in your life. When you have a relationship with God, you're automatically dependent upon God. Yep. And so if I come and I'm single and I begin to date somebody, my mindset wouldn't be, you know what, I'm independent. No, I'm very dependent upon God. Now, what God has allowed me to do, he is my sustainer. He is my provider. He gives me what I need. And so I'm not coming to the table looking for you to give me what I need. I'm coming to the table already knowing where I get my resources from. So now, if you're dependent on God and I'm dependent on God, then we come together. God is the provider of us both.
Yep.
People don't see it like that. When you start to say I'm independent, you're saying I make it happen. It goes down because of me. And so if I don't make it happen, then it's not going to happen. And if I make it happen, you got to make it happen, and we got to make it happen together. It's an I spirit. And so when you go into marriage and everything is about you, your marriage will never grow. Your marriage will never move forward. It will always be a place where you're draining it. And we talked about your bank, your marital bank. As much as you take out, you should be depositing double. Every time you make a withdrawal, your deposit should be higher than your withdrawal. So you can always have abundance. It can't always be about you. You got to kill the selfish spirit. We all have it. And even when you're loving your spouse the right way, we can have moments of selfishness. Like I know I have them because I have 4 boys and I'm married and we work and we have businesses and we have ministry. And so sometimes I'm just like, look, today I would greatly appreciate if nobody said nothing to me. Like nobody. Like don't even say good morning, mom. Like don't even look my way. Like just act like I'm invisible today and let me go and do everything that I want to do, because right now I just want some me time. I want to be very selfish in this moment and just really do things that bring me gratification and satisfaction. Forget your needs. Forget that you need your mom today to function. Forget that you need some love and some attention and you may just want to come and hug and say, Mom, I love you. Forget that today, dude. What I really need is for you to act like you don't have no mama today, because it's all about me. And we do this in marriage all the time.
Yeah, we do.
We're like, wait a minute. Oh, what? You want some time? Like, wait, you want some sex? Wait a minute.
Hallelujah.
You want some?
Yes,
like,
God.
dude, I am so tired. Like, do you not know I had the most frustrating day? I still got to get these kids ready. I got to wash these clothes, iron these clothes. They got to take baths. I don't really have time to give you none, dude. Like, wait a minute.
Those are thoughts from the enemy, though. Seriously. If your wife started talking like that, talking about she tired,
you got to rebuke it.
You have to rebuke that spirit right there. Recognize, rebuke, and resist.
Oh my God. Oh my God. No, but
it makes sense.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, we only human.
Yeah. We're all are there.
We all are there. And we all get to that point where you just want to just be you for a minute. Just some you time. But it's very important. It's very important that you do find that time. Because what happens is you get so frustrated and aggravated, man, and it's sad to say this, but that's why you see lately on the news, man, you know, kids are raising kids. You got a 25-year-old with 4 kids, and she just kill all the kids. And I'm not justifying what she have done, but the situation that she have allowed herself to be in has frustrated her. And now she's frustrated. Now she aggravated. Now she felt alone. Now she having thoughts from the enemy, and boom, she killed all the kids. And so you got to allow some balance within. You know, you do need that me time.
Yeah.
Not that time shouldn't be all the time, but you do need that, you know, that restart up time to be
To
refocused, to reboot.
Yeah.
You know, just even if it's just 2 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, roughly, I use my morning time as my me time because I don't listen to the radio. I don't listen to nothing. You know, either I'm talking to God, or I'm trying to hear what He's saying, and that is the problem. We don't have enough God time where we always asking, but we're not listening. We all want God to do something. We all want God to move, and He like, I'm gonna answer your question if you just listen.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you where to go if you just listen. I'm gonna tell you what to do if you just listen.
Yeah.
But we don't do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We just always, God, can you do this for me? God, he need to change. God, she need to do this. God, he ain't doing this. God, I just want some me time. And God just saying, just listen. I'm going to show you how to get there. You can find your peace in me. I'm going to give you the peace that surpasses all understanding.
Come on.
If you just listen to me.
Yeah.
But we don't listen. We just want to do what we want to do. We want to do it how we want to do it. And if things don't go our way, guess what we do? We wash our hands with it and be done.
Yeah. Like I'm out.
I'm out.
Yeah.
And so we're going to go to the next point.
I want to jump down here to this one. Number 6.
That's the point I was going to.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, I already got it.
Look how God moves.
And I'm going to let you introduce that point.
No, you go ahead. Because I just was looking at it and I was like, I know that's something that we don't think about it.
you.
You're instructing me.
Nah, but go ahead. You can move to that point. Go ahead.
So, marriage will cost you burdens that are not yours.
So you mean I got to carry somebody else? I got to carry your weight?
Yeah.
Only time I'm trying to really carry your weight is no. What's so funny? No, this is nothing. No, what I'm saying.
Oh, Jesus help me.
Okay, go ahead. I'm gonna let you start.
Go. I'm just go. The only time you're trying to carry somebody weight. Go. My weight.
I didn't say somebody.
What you say?
I said only time I'm trying to carry your weight.
Okay, go. Is
when we enter into Genesis 2 and we both are naked and not ashamed.
I just can't.
And so, but no, and I think the crazy thing about this is, and this gonna tie in, this gonna merge into the selfishness part, because no matter how much we want to say, yeah, I take your burden. Nobody wants to take somebody else's burden. I don't care how much you love somebody, because nobody want to bring the weight of somebody else. Now, if you see that. Okay, I don't have to go that far. Yeah, I can. Come on, I got you. Come on. But it seems like when this person is coming in with a lot of hurt, with a lot of damage, and you start to look at it and you start to feel like, there's no way. This person ain't really changing, man. I don't see this really happening. I don't really see this going down like this.
Let me get my cord.
And so I think that's the frustrating part about this cost right here. Now, this is a huge cost when you have to carry the weight of someone. And this is where you're really going to need God to come in and intervene and help you. This is where you're going to need the Spirit, and this is where you're going to need God help carrying the burden of someone.
Yeah. So marriage will cost you to carry the burdens of your spouse. And when we think about burdens, you got to think about, first of all, like...
Now, you can't carry the spouse of your boyfriend.
The burdens of your boyfriend or your girlfriend.
That don't even sound right.
No, it doesn't. We're talking about your spouse. We're talking about your marriage, because the two have become one. And so anytime you really understand and look at marriage, the two have become one. So naturally, when two people merge together, whatever you're carrying, whatever I'm carrying now becomes our baggage, our burden together. Now, so when we think about burden, we think about all the things that we go through that weigh us down, those things that weigh us down. And it's already hard enough to carry your own burden, if we're honest. People already struggle with individual burdens. Yeah. And so a lot of times you see people have a hard time with life, and many people who even commit suicide committed off of burden because the burden is too heavy already. So let me tell you, we still go back to having a relationship with God. Because when you have a relationship with God, yes, you carry a burden temporarily for your spouse. But we're going to carry this burden together to God. We're not going to carry this burden solely with us. Because one thing about it, anytime you carry a burden and you take it to God, there is a release. I can't get buried by a burden that I don't carry. Anytime you carry burdens beyond where you need to take them to God, they begin to bury you. And people get buried all the time in marriage from burdens, and not just their own individual burdens, but burdens from their spouse. And those burdens can be burdens that came from their past, whatever they went through, whatever they faced, whatever healing, whatever brokenness is there. So yes, as a spouse, you temporarily carry a burden, but we carrying this burden to Christ. I'm not carrying this burden to be walking around in this 20-year marriage with you, and we both just heavy and weighted down, and nobody can see clear, and nobody can really walk and follow Christ because we so weighted down with this burden. God says he's the burden bearer.
And I think when you don't have Christ, you don't know how to carry the burden to Christ. So what we do is, in aviation, we call it a holding pattern. And so what happens is you just find yourself keep walking around and around, but you got the burden.
Yeah.
But you really don't know where to take it. You don't know where to offload it at. You don't know where to throw it off ship at.
Yeah.
Because you don't have no sense of direction.
Yeah.
Instead of casting all your cares on him, you just holding all the burdens. And keep walking around, walking around, walking around. And now you done walked around so much that now you done got frustrated. And you're like, I can't do this no more because I'm not getting nowhere. And the more that I carry the burden, the more heavier it gets. And you're not helping me. So we have to have a sense of direction on where to take the burden. To.
That's it. You gotta, burdens are gonna happen in marriage. We all come to the table with some degree of burden. Some of us come with so much more burden than others, especially when you marry somebody that is not at the same pace as you are in their walk with God. And so if you marry a new believer and you've been rocking with God for 20 years, don't assume that their burden that they're going to bring is going to be light. Like, their burden is going to be a lot heavier than yours because they haven't been walking with God as long as you have. And so they haven't formed that relationship of trust where they can just now, every time a burden comes on their back, they're like, oh, wait a minute, it's not for me. God, take this. Okay, God, wait a minute. I got to drop this package off to you. Here you go, Lord. This is not for me. This is for you. See, when you don't really have a long-standing built relationship with God, you begin to hoard your burdens because you only trust yourself with it. You only trust your ability to resolve the burden. You don't trust God. But the thing about releasing your burdens to God comes with trust. It comes with building the relationship. And when you have a relationship with God that you trust, that you know that he has came through, that he has showed you time and time again that he can handle whatever you face, he can handle whatever situation you're going through, that he can heal you, he can heal your brokenness, he can restore you, he can bring you to a place of wholeness, you have no problem releasing the burden. And then when you get with somebody that's not comfortable releasing the burden, you have a conversation. You're like, hey, babe, look, I know you used to carrying this load. These 20 bags you got, I know you used to carrying it, but you may wonder why I only have this one that I'm trying to get to God. So we're going to take my one and we're going to take your 20, and we got to take this whole 21 and lay it before God. Because if not, it's going to kill us. If not, it's going to bury our relationship. It's going to bury our love. It's going to bury our commitment. It's going to bury our trust. It's going to bury our passion. It's going to bury our commitment. So many marriages die from burdens. They don't die from other things. They die from burdens.
That's good.
Burdens. And a lot of the burden is brokenness.
And sometimes, man, we don't like to hear what God had to say because the person that you may be sleeping next to may be the burden.
Yep.
But because you like what you saw, and you ignored all the red flags, and you decided to move forward with it anyway, who's to blame?
Yep. Let me tell you something, because I see this so many times when we coach couples. They'll be facing a situation, and I'll say, okay, when did this situation start? Did you see this prior to marriage? And a lot of people will say, yeah, I saw it prior to marriage, but they still married the person, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so they get into marriage with this burden already in place prior to marriage, but now that they're in the marriage, it's like, wait a minute, I need you to like get rid of this burden like immediately. Now, this is a burden that somebody may have been carrying for 20 years prior to marrying you. Do not assume in your year, your 3 years, your 5 years of being married that they have now the capacity to release this burden. Do not assume that because you got married. Somebody that has been carrying a burden for 20 years, it may take 20 years to release the burden. What you have to do now, that's why you got to pay attention to things before you say I do to them. You have to know what you're committing to. You have to count the cost. Like we just saying, there's a cost to marriage. And the cost to marriage is carrying the burdens of your spouse until those burdens can be released to God together. You got to be willing to do that. When you not, they didn't show that side of them while dating. Terry, you said, what if they didn't show that side of them while dating? I think one thing about this process of dating, our process of dating is too rushed. Like a lot of us date so superficially that we never really get to those true core moments of learning somebody, of seeing how somebody's true nature is. And so we go on these like fairy tale dates that never really place you in a situation to bring out your character, because I want to see someone operate in a situation that challenges your character. I want to see you operate when somebody cusses you out. I want to see how you move. When you're in a situation where you feel stuck and tight and you feel uncomfortable, I want to see how you resolve conflict. I want to see how you deal with people that you feel like you don't need. I want to see how you deal with your service, with your waiters. A lot of times when I go out with people, I watch how you treat the people that serve you. Because to me, if you treat people who serve you ill, then at the moment that I no longer serve you, you will treat me the same way. And so you got to pay attention to different things. I think we look for wrong things to assess whether or not this person can be our spouse. We look at, okay, they managing their life. They got their own place. They may not have no kids. They got a job. They've been able to function. Yeah, they love God. They go to church every now and then. And those are the things that we assess while dating, but we never truly get to the core, the character of the person. We never really dig deep enough to see the burden, because anytime that you dig deep enough, a burden will be revealed. We all have. And so you gotta be, you can go ahead and I'll go ahead and teach. You gotta be willing to carry the burden of your spouse, guys. And so marriage will cost you, to carry your burden. Marriage will cost you to have a servant's heart, Rhonda had to step away, guys, because we also, coach, as you guys know, and someone's calling about that, so it got to be something that he got to address. But I want to say that marriage will cost you to have a servant's heart. It will cost you to want to serve your spouse. If you are in a marriage and you have no desire to serve your spouse, you do not need to be married. Marriage is a place of service. Marriage is a place of service not only for you to be served, but for you to serve. That's really where it starts. And anytime you get into a marriage where you see two people that have a servant's heart, that embrace a servant's heart, you see this reciprocity taking place in the marriage. You see this wheel moving so perfectly because they have the servant's heart down pat. So it's not whether or not you give me what I need, I'm going to serve you. It's like, look, I'm going to serve you because as your spouse, I want to make sure that I'm serving you. I want to make sure that I'm giving you what you need. I want to be able to give you that. And at the same time, the spouse then says, okay, you know what? I want to serve you as well. You got to have a servant's heart. If you're with your spouse and you have no desire to serve them, you truly have no love. Because God was all about service. Jesus was all about service to people. That's how he showed love. And in marriage, service is a form of showing love. You got to be willing to serve. Not serve when your attitude right. Not serve when it's convenient for you. Not serve when you happy. Not serve when everything is working the way you want it to work. Service is service. Like the worst thing is when you ever went to a restaurant, right? And one of your favorite restaurants, and you typically go there and the service is like the bomb. But let's just say you go on this one night, they got this waitress and she might have had the worst day ever. And you can already tell that when you sit down and she approaches your table, it's about to be some bad service, right? Now, you came with an expectation of experiencing some good service, but because of whatever's going on in this waitress's life, she doesn't have the capacity to give you the level of service, right, that you desire. And so who is at fault in that moment? Is it the waitress, or should you say in your mind, you know what? I understand you had a bad day, so I'm going to give you a pass on your service. No, service is not contingent upon how you feel. You serve because you serve. You serve because that's your desire. That's your heart, because that's your makeup. And a lot of people get in marriage and we don't serve because that's our desire. That's our makeup. We serve because we're looking to get some kind of return. So it's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to serve you today in this way because I really need you to do something for me. It's really something I need to ask you. I really need to make sure I get X, Y, Z. And when you serve from that way, you're not serving from a servant's heart. You're serving from a want, a desire to meet a self. That's really you serving from a selfish place to get what you need. And so a marriage requires you to have a servant's heart, to be willing to serve your spouse regardless of what's going on in the situation. It's gonna cost you to have that kind of heart. Marriage will cost you your patience. Marriage will cost you your patience. Patience is one of those things that everybody kind of thinks they have until you really realize you don't have it. Like, it's one of those things that until you're put in that situation that you never really comprehended could happen, that you never really saw yourself in. And the moment that you lose patience, when you have a relationship with God, you automatically feel convicted. It's like, I always use my boys because they pull and teach me patience all day. They pull at my patience and they teach me how to be patient. And so there are moments where I have sucked as a mom with patience. I was already impatient, and then they may have come with something that only required like 1% of patience. But because I was already at like negative 80% of patience, that 1% they was asking me for, it just sent me like over, and I lost it all. And God brought me to a place like, really, Rachel? So you that impatient? Really? And I'm like, you know what? You absolutely right. It's no reason I should have handled that situation the way that I did. It's no reason. And when you think about marriage, you have to have patience in your marriage too, because marriage will pull at your patience, guys. You cannot control your spouse. This is an individual person. They're going to come with their gifts. They're going to come with their flaws, and they're going to come with moments that are challenging. And you got to dig deep to have patience. And you need to have patience to let God move. A lot of us don't have enough patience to let God move, that we try to fix it. And so we're like, okay, God, I'm patient, but it's been 3 months. I'm patient, but nothing's changed. I'm patient, but I'm tired. You got to have patience for marriage.
Yeah, a lot.
I got to get something to drink. Sorry, guys. I've been talking too much.
Really?
I did. My throat got parched. So you got to have patience for your marriage, because without patience, you will not make it. If you're in a marriage and you find yourself getting aggravated, overwhelmed, agitated at the very sound of your spouse's voice, you are not working that patience. Patience is a fruit of the Spirit. It is something that we consistently have to work at, grow, strengthen. It is something that we have to build, guys. Yeah. And the only way to build patience is to be in situations where your patience is tried. That's the only way. It's the same as faith. The only way that you build faith is to be in situations that seem hopeless, and you got to use your faith to get through them. It's the same thing with patience. If you're in a marriage that's pulling at your patience, it is an area God is trying to strengthen in your life. And you may not understand that you need to build this area in your marriage, because God knows the end of a thing from the beginning. And so sometimes he builds areas in us in a season of our marriage that will be used for another season.
Yeah. Or you be used for somebody else.
Yes.
Because a lot of times what we go through, most of the time is not for us. Either there's someone looking at you, or it's a testimony that you will have to share for someone else who is going through that very same thing.
Yeah.
And you could be able to tell them how you made it through.
Yep. And let me tell you, never have patience. Never have more patience for people outside of your home than you do for the people inside.
Now that's good. You got to say that again.
Never have more patience for people outside of your home than for those in your home, guys. And I had to learn that the hard way, because we all are able to really put on a show. Like for people, because sometimes we don't want people to really know that we really don't got no patience, and we snap off real quick, and our attitude might be a little sucky. So as soon as we hit the world and that door opens and we move outside of our homes, then it's like lights, camera, action. I'm Miss Patience. I'm Miss Nice. I'm Miss Committed. I'm Miss Everything. And then your husband or your wife and your kids are all like, oh, okay, well, just wait a minute. Like, who is this person? Like, who is this person? Yeah. Because this is not the person we receive at home. And understand that God will never bless you in a situation where you are pretending. God will never bless you in a situation that you are pretending in. One thing about it, if you want patience, then, and that's an area you struggle in, communicate that. Communicate that you may suck at patience and say, hey, work with me. My patience is a little short. This is an area that God is really working on in my life. So if I get out of line and you see me getting a little agitated, kind of reel me and say, hey, baby, we're trying to work on that patience. You might want to, dig a little deeper to kind of pull that patience in, because we can lose patience. Easy. And it's different things that trigger us to be impatient, like to go off. We all have our own triggers. Like, it's some stuff that doesn't move me, that moves my husband, and it's some stuff that doesn't move him at all. And I'm like on 15,000. I'm like, that don't make you mad? Like, dude, you're not gonna, like, and it's like, so we all have our own things that bother us. But patience is something that you have to have. Nobody wants to be married to somebody who is impatient. Somebody nobody wants to be married to somebody that they don't feel like would be willing to go the mile with them, go the course. There's no way to have a lifelong marriage without patience. None whatsoever. What's another one you want? I was just jumping through some of them. I didn't go in any order.
We ain't too far out of this.
No, right, we probably got time for two more.
All right, let's hit this one right here. I think this one is good. Marriage will cause you pain.
Oh.
Marriage will cause you pain.
Talk about that.
Your wife has become your cross. Right before Jesus was crucified on the cross, do you remember what he had to endure? He was beaten nearly half to death, crown of thorns smashed on his head. That is some of the pain that you will have to endure in marriage. Some disappointment, some upsets.
Come on.
Some
letdowns.
I mean, the disappointment within itself is painful.
Yeah.
People will disappoint you. Are you willing to pay the cost for that?
Yep.
Or you want to just give up and leave?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have different types of hurt.
Yeah.
That you have to deal with, different levels of hurt that you're going to have to deal with in marriage. Those storms are going to come.
Yep.
Now, they don't stop because the circle of life keep going. So what you have to do is you have to find the eye of the storm.
Yeah.
When the storm start to rage.
Yeah.
Anybody know what the eye of the storm is? That's that peace. Have you ever seen them do a tornado? And it's always the eye. It's the peace in the eye, what you have to find. Once you find the eye of the storm, that's when you start to find peace in your situation. So not saying that the storm will not come, it's just you have to find peace within that storm.
Absolutely. So let me say this, because I think it's so powerful what you said about marriage will cost you pain.
Yeah.
Many of us, when we get married, we see marriage as this thing that will give you love. Like it will be like this beautiful thing. It may be challenging at times, but we never really think in our minds that being married to this person will cause me moments of pain. And I don't want you to think of moments of pain only from somebody doing something wrong. To be married to somebody and to love somebody can in itself can have you at moments of pain. You can get to a place that somebody gets ill, mentally or physically. that you love, that is a painful place to be. To watch somebody go through a cancer, to watch somebody go through a heart attack, to watch somebody have to recover from a car accident. That brings a degree of pain. To watch somebody struggle with a substance abuse issue brings a level of pain, because that in itself is love. You love that person. Now, even when you love that person and loving somebody, sometimes the people we love, we hurt the most. Not even intentionally, but just by the very proximity of how we are to each other. If I am broken and scarred, it's going to leave some brokenness and scarredness on you. It's going to have some residue effect on you, because we are one. And so a lot of times we don't think that when we become one with somebody that still has pain within them. And we all have pain within us, because if we're honest, all of our past have painful moments that have made us become who we are, that have strengthened us. And the thing about pain in marriage and the cost of pain for your marriage, it is not a bad thing. What you choose it to be. And so if you choose for the pain to become poison, for the pain to become power, it will strengthen your marriage. And so pain is something that is guaranteed, but how you utilize the pain, the painful moments, how you move from the painful moments, those are the things that really determine the type of marriage that you're going to have. Your pain can either be poison or it can be power.
Now, don't get it confused. Your whole lifelong marriage, or if you've been married 10 years, 9 of those years should not be pain. Now, we're talking about going and leaving pain.
Yeah.
We're not talking about getting beat on.
No, we're not talking about pain every day.
And feeling like you have to just, you know what I'm saying, put up with the pain of that type of pain. No, we're not talking about that. You've been married 10 years, but out of the 10 years, 9 have been miserable.
Yeah.
9 have just been, you know, physical pain. No, we're not talking about that type of pain.
Yeah.
We're just saying that each marriage have a circle of life that it has to go through. I mean, that's just no way that you can get around it. That's why I said no weapon formed against you should prosper. Not saying that it won't form, it just won't prosper. So not saying that, you know, the pain won't come. It won't come, but it will come, but you just have to endure it.
Yep.
Go through it.
Yep.
So you can go through hell as long as you don't stay, as long as you don't park. So a lot of us, we park in our pain.
What?
Like I mean, they said that marriage would cause me pain, so I guess this is what I have to go through. No.
Yep. We begin to like embrace it.
Embrace the pain. That's daily. Like, yeah, I ran into his fish. So it cost me this. I was wrong. No. You don't stay there. You move forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
So marriage will cause you pain.
Yeah, it will cost you pain. And let me say something, because you said something about enduring something, like you shouldn't be married for 10 years and have 9 years of pain. Typically, when you see people that have been married those amount of years, but majority of the years have been painful, there's a degree of brokenness that is there within both. And I say within both because a lot of people think that they are, because they're not doing the bad things, but they're staying, they assume that they're not broken. And so they take on this godly mentality that I can now become a fixer to this broken person. And so they no longer are a partner on this godly concept that now I'm going to make this person whole. And the reason they go year after year after year after year struggling and going through the tough times of marriage is because they're playing God. Anytime you play God in marriage, you will suffer unnecessary pain. Nobody is a God in marriage. You can place your spouse before God. You cannot play God to your spouse. You don't have the ability to make somebody whole. I'm going to say this again, because so many people are out here misled thinking that I can stay, that I got, I believe in God, that God gives me this power to just transform and change this person. You do not have the power to make someone whole. You do not have the power to bring wholeness. That's God. That's Christ. That's his ability. He is the only one that can fill that void to bring somebody to a place of wholeness. Now, if you choose to stay in brokenness, one thing you got to be careful is to not get cut. Many of us stay in a place of brokenness and we think that we can come and now patch up this brokenness, but we don't even go covered. We don't even go with God. We go uncovered. Yeah. And so we just touching glass. And then when we end up scarred, bruised, battered, beat, now everybody's overwhelmed and nothing's working. And we're just having this cycle of pain over and over and over again because nobody really came to the table the right way. And so never feel like you're supposed to bring somebody to a place of wholeness in marriage. That's not your role. That's God. That's God's role to bring us to a place of wholeness. That's why we got to have a relationship with God. We got to seek God for ourselves and we got to allow God to move in our lives. But you can't be there for somebody that's broken. You can't love them through their brokenness. You can be that Christ-like committed love, that dedicated love, but you cannot change that person. You have to love them where they are. And loving them where they are sometimes brings you pain because they do things that cause pain in your marriage and your relationship. Now, don't be a fool per se, because some people have no desire, no relationship, no commitment to God at all. So they have no plans of changing. They are simply dedicated and committed to living out their lives the way they want to live out their lives. And they don't even worship the God that you worship. You got to be very careful not to stay committed to people like that. And I'm very clear because I think so many times we, as believers, we get in relationship with non-believers and then it's like, I'm going to stay with this person for 15 years and I'm going to stand and they don't have anything for God. And they don't have a desire to seek anything for God. And next thing you know, they have 5 kids outside of your marriage and here you are committed, right? You got to be careful in situations like that. We can't play God. We can love each other through our brokenness. And marriage will cost you some painful moments, but you got to use that pain as power.
Okay. So before we leave, I just want to do one more.
Go ahead.
This is a good one. And we done counseled couples on this one. We talked to a lot of people about this one. And this one sometimes can be a deal breaker. Marriage will cost you relationships. Hashtag family and friends. No, I had to have, relationships, but we're talking about now, we're being specific about with your family and your friends. This is things that your marriage will cost you.
Yep.
Because what happens when your spouse and your mother don't get along? What happens when your husband and your wife, father don't get along? What happened when your husband's sisters don't get along with your spouse? Or your cousins? Or just family member, period? Or let's go with this, best friends. What happens when your wife has a best friend that she been knowing for 30 years and the husband don't approve of the best friend? What do you do? How do you handle those situations? When your wife tells you that her dad don't want you around, what are you willing to give up? What are the costs are you willing to pay? Or are you willing to say, you know what? I love my spouse. Says, I'm rolling with my spouse because this is the person that I am committed to. This is the person that I said before God that this is who I want to be with. So do you then cut that relationship off and move with the spouse? Or what do you do?
I think you always got to really have real conversations about things like that because many people say that their spouses come before friends or family, but then when the conflict happens, we quickly find that that's not the case. Like, we know that nothing should come before God, and then after God, if you're married, nothing should come before your spouse. Like, every other relationship isn't meant to reside and to become one. It's not a union of oneness. And I think people got to understand that you're not meant to be one with your parents. You're not meant to be one with your siblings. You're definitely not meant to be one with friends. And so anytime that those relationships begin to cause a conflict in your marriage, they don't have the same priority level as your marriage. They don't have the same value as your marriage. And so you really got to weigh, if it's something that you can't resolve in a conversation with people, you really got to weigh the importance of it. Because at at the point that somebody makes any relationship outside of the covenant of their marriage more important than the marriage, you're already out of alignment. You're already out of alignment because nobody else, any other relationship that you have, they don't reside with you daily. They don't have that oneness covenant over it.
I think the problem where the issue come in at, because if your spouse tell you that they have an issue with your parent, what do you do? Because this has been my parents for all my life.
Yeah.
They took care of me for all of my life. And here it is. I have a husband for 3 years.
Yeah.
And now I have to make a decision.
Yeah.
How can I do that?
Yeah. Well, I think the start of that is to have a conversation about really what's going on. What is the root cause of the conflict? Because one thing about it is conflict doesn't just spark up without some context behind it. And so you really got to dig to get to the conflict. Now, if you have people that aren't willing to resolve the conflict, right? And if it's just really unjustified why they don't like your spouse, why they don't want your spouse to come over to their house, you've made a commitment. That goes back to what we were talking about, that marriage costs. Marriage costs a commitment, and not a commitment to your parents, not a commitment to your friends, not a commitment to your siblings, but a commitment to your spouse. And that's a commitment that you got to stand on. Because think about it. It could be a situation where your spouse handles something wrong. Let's say they handle the finances wrong. Next thing you know, like we just said, you're staying in a hotel for 4 months. Now your parents are upset. You got my child in a hotel. You're not providing. I really don't like this person. I don't think this is the person for you. But that could be a trial, a season in your marriage that God is using to strengthen you for what's to come forward. Now, if you choose to ride with the feelings of your parents, it can ruin your marriage. Versus if you like, okay, look, mom and dad, we face some hard time. It's not just him handling the finances. It's both of our finances. So we made some bad choices, some bad decisions. We're going to get through this together. I understand that if you really don't want to deal with Tony, that's fine. But I'm going to have to stay with my husband.
Well, a lot of times it's not presented that way.
Yeah.
Because your parents speak out against your husband and you take the parent's side. So that automatically put a wedge between you and the husband. Instead of you saying, we made a decision.
Yes.
It was his decision, but the two are one, so we made a decision.
Yeah.
And so what we do is, when I say we, what most people do is, they say, well, Chris, he done went out and did this.
Yeah.
And then you find yourself, on the side with your parents.
Yeah.
Going against your husband, and he feeling some kind of way.
Yeah. We throw our spouses under the bus, and then we get mad when we want to pull them from up under the bus and dust them off and present them back to our parents. That's why I tell people, be very careful what you expose others to about your marriage.
Especially your family, because your family is going to always love you for who you are.
That's it.
But when you expose your spouse, your husband, or your wife to your family,
they don't love them for them.
They don't see them in that lens anymore.
No.
See, your brother can expose you.
Yep.
And your parents still gonna love both of you guys.
Yep.
But once you expose the outside person, which is a spouse, your parents never see them in that same light again.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
See, and this sad to say, but if I cheat on my wife, no matter what, I'm still my parents' son.
Absolutely.
They're gonna love me anyway.
Absolutely. Yep.
But if my wife cheat and it's exposed to my parents, it's looked at in a different light.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Vice versa.
Absolutely. It's the same thing, same wrongness done, but it's the fact that I have a different level of love and commitment to that person.
To that person, yeah.
And I think that's what you got to be careful of when you're married, because I think sometimes we place our families, our friends in these situations where they now feel like they have to pick a side. And then when they start to pick a side, because sometimes we make them pick sides. So we start telling them things so they'll be on our side. But then when we choose to stay, everything has already been revealed. So now we want you to just forget everything we told you and just be on team us. But I just had you on team me.
Yeah.
And so the family and the friends are like, wait a minute, now you want me to accept both of you guys, but just like 3 weeks ago you were saying it was over and I'm all for you and them, we helping and making plans, and now you like back to us.
So in other words, man, when you are dealing with an issue within the house, keep that issue within the house. Now, when it get to the point where it's growing outside of you guys, that's where your marriage circle comes in.
Absolutely.
And your parents should not be in your marriage circle.
Absolutely.
Your parents should be just what they are.
Yep, your parents. Absolutely.
They should not be included into your marriage circle.
Absolutely.
So you should have people around you who cover you.
Yep.
And make sure that if anything go wrong, they there for you guys. They team you guys.
Yep.
Not team you.
Yep.
Not team her.
Yep.
Not team him. It's team them.
Yeah. Yep. Because your parents won't forgive you. I mean, won't forgive your spouse them. Like they will forgive you. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So next week we'll talk about.
We done?
We got a lot more.
We got one more. Let's do.
Next week we'll talk some more about the cost of marriage, the things you must give up in marriage. Like his own son, no matter what he gets called, invited, checked on, they are on his side. That's awesome. That's awesome. That is how it should be.
That's how,
yeah. But that is how it should be. But so many times when real life situations happen, it's not so easy to just be for the team of marriage, especially when you feel like your daughter or your son is getting hurt or you see the pain in them. It's not easy to just say, okay, come with loving arms to somebody that you see is causing that pain for your spouse.
Or if you go and you have a black eye, they're not going to say,
no,
oh, that's my boy. You did that?
It's all good. It's not going to happen.
No.
These are real life situations that we're talking about. Yeah. When real things happen, it's not all so, hey, we for the team. No, it's for the betterment of you. They're going to look out for you because that's where the love and the commitment truly is, you know? And so I think we just got to be careful sometimes about the things that we choose to share with those around, but also you got to really have that conversation about what is the commitment between the two of you. You got to make sure you're on one accord, that we come before anything outside of this covenant, that this covenant is what comes first, that nothing else can challenge it, nothing else can threaten it, that it comes first. And so next week we will see you guys, and we'll talk a little bit more about counting the cost. As we said, we are planning our marriage circle outing for November 11th. We'll give you guys some more details as we solidify the location and the cost. We're thinking about just going bowling, hanging out, having some great conversation, great food, and just chilling. And so we hope that you guys will come out. We love you guys. We hope y'all have a blessed week. And thank you for tuning in with us again for MBG.
Thank you,
we love you guys.